Hi everybody, my name is Larsen. Analyzing chord progressions and songs is very important if you want to understand how the music flows and if you want to figure out what to play and how to play it when you want to solo over the song. In this video I'm going to take the famous standard There'll Never Be Another You. I'm going to use that to show you how you can analyze the song, figure out what scales go with the chords and understand the form and the harmony. So this is going to go a little bit beyond just figuring out what the 2-5-1s are and what the key is, and it's really going to teach you something about how a lot of jazz standards and how a lot of jazz progressions really work. For me as a musician, I find that using music theory in this way is something that's extremely helpful if I'm checking out new pieces or if I'm sight reading stuff on a gig. Then just from looking at the page, I have a really good idea about what the chords are going to sound like, and I know how to treat them already because I understand what they're doing there, where they're going and where they're coming from. If you want to learn more about jazz guitar, improve the way that you solo, or check out some interesting arpeggios or chord voicings, then subscribe to my channel. If you want to make sure not to miss anything, then click the little bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. I'm going to do this in basically 3 steps. So first I'm going to analyze the form. It's good to just first start with an overview and have an idea about what the form is. Then I'm going to go through the chord progression and assign a Roman numeral to each of the chords. And finally I'm going to take that information and put that together and assign some scales to each of the chords and each of the cadences. The key of this song is E flat major, and there are a few ways that you can tell this. Probably the one that's most obvious is to just listen to the song and then figure out what the root of the melody is. So, and that's also easy to hear actually if I play the last 4 bars. So I think we can all hear that this is the root of the key. This is the final chord, this is the ending. And of course you can also just look at the sheet music and look at the last note of the melody and realize that that's an E flat. Another thing that's also worth looking at is that if you look at the chord progression, then all the chords that are found sort of on the heavy parts of the song, so every 4 bars, are actually diatonic to E flat major. So we have E flat major, C minor 7 and also A flat major. So in that case it's sort of just moving around in the key of E flat, and of course the melody also suggests that this is E flat major. If you understand that a song is in the key of E flat major, then probably most of the chords that you're going to expect to find are going to be in that key. And they're probably also just going to be diatonic chords to the E flat major scale. So if we just look at what that might be, so for E flat major we have these chords: E flat major 7, F minor 7, G minor 7, A flat major 7, B flat 7, C minor 7, D half diminished, and then back on E flat major 7. And we can add those to the chart by just using Roman numerals like this. The first chord is the tonic chord, so E flat major 7. Then the D half diminished G7, I'm just going to skip for now. They're not really in the key, even though D half diminished is actually in the key, but in this case I'm looking at it as being a part of a cadence. And then we get the 6th degree in the next line, so C minor 7. Then we get another cadence that's not really in the key. And then we get the 4th degree, A flat major 7. Then a D flat 7, and then we get another tonic and another 6th degree. We get an F7, that's not really in the key either, and then a 2-5-1. So F minor 7, B flat 7, back to the tonic. And then we get the second half, and that's really the same until we get down to the A half diminished D7, and then we get another tonic, A flat 7, then we get a 3rd degree, and then C7, and then another 2-5-1. Most of the chords that I skipped are secondary dominants or cadences. So if we start to add those in, so first we have the E flat and then we go to D half diminished G7. So D half diminished G7 in this case is just a cadence to take us to the 6th degree, so a C minor. And since it's a cadence to a minor chord, then you're going to treat the dominant as if it's a dominant to a minor chord, because that's also how it's resolving. So you're going to play the G7 with a flat 9 and a flat 13. Which is essentially the same as playing C harmonic minor over that G7. The next cadence that's not in the key is the B flat minor, E flat 7. And this is a cadence to A flat, so it's a cadence to the 4th degree, resolves. And you would just treat that as if it's a 2-5-1 in A flat, so you're just going to be playing B flat minor, E flat 7 out of A flat major and resolving to the A flat major here. Then I'm going to skip the D flat 7 for now, I'm going to return to that later. And then a few chords later we have the F7. Now this is a dominant of the dominant. So this is a very common, actually a very common chord to come across, especially at this point in the form. You'll see that if you check out my analysis of All of Me, that has actually exactly the same chord and at this place in the form. So it's the dominant, and you will also treat it as such. So you will play, it's resolving to a major chord, so you're just going to play it as a normal F7 to B flat major, and that means that you'll be using B flat major scale on top of it. And then it's just resolving to a 2-5, so it's resolving to B flat, F minor 7 to B flat 7. In the second half, then we start with the A half diminished D7. Now this is a cadence to the 3rd degree in the scale, so it's a cadence to G minor, which is also how you should probably play on it, and how that really works, because it's not going to G minor, it's actually going to E flat major, and there's another explanation of how that works, and I'm going to return to that a little bit later in the video. And then from there it goes to the tonic. Then we have an A flat 7 that I'm also going to skip for now, and then we have the 3rd degree, and then we have the C7 resolving to F minor, and the C7, again, it's a dominant, it's resolving to a diatonic chord, and the diatonic chord is a minor chord. So the scale that you want to use on it is really just the harmonic minor of that chord that it's resolving to. So in this case, that's an F harmonic minor scale. So you would think of it as being C7, flat 9, flat 13. And then we get just the 2-5-1 back. Now we have 3 places in the progression that I didn't really explain yet, because we have the D flat 7, we have the A half diminished D7, and then we have the A flat 7. So if we start with the D flat 7, the D flat 7 is following a 4 chord. So we have the A flat major, we first have a cadence to the 4th degree, then we get the A flat major 7, and then to D flat 7 to E flat major. And I've notated, I put the Roman numeral for flat 7 on the D flat 7, because essentially it is of course the flat 7 in E flat. And the way you want to understand this chord is that it's what you would call a backdoor dominant, and the backdoor dominant is actually a 4 minor chord. It's sort of belonging to the group of chords that I call 4 minor chords, and I also write 4 minor, which is sometimes a little bit confusing, but it's just minor subdominant chords. They're borrowed from E flat minor. And in this case, you can also see that if we are here, that if we have the A flat major 7 to D flat 7 to E flat major 7, then the D flat 7 is really the same as if I played the A flat major, and then instead I would play an A flat minor 6. And you can also hear that what I'm doing, I'm repeating one note, and that's sort of the important note in this progression, and that is that it's the 3rd of the A flat that's turned into a minor, and then resolving finally to the 5th of the tonic. So it's just another way of getting from a subdominant chord back to the 1 chord. And the backdoor dominant is a minor subdominant, and you would also treat it as this. So if you look at the A flat minor 6 chord, then the scale you would expect to use with that one would be A flat minor melodic. And that's also the scale that you would use on a D flat 7 in this case. In the sheet music it also says D flat 7 sharp 11. So it's a Lydian dominant, which is the same as A flat melodic minor. So you actually end up with the same scale, and you also have the same important notes, and that's the point of this progression. That's why it works, that's what it's doing there. The other Lydian dominant that we have in this progression is at the end of the song on the A flat 7. So here we have E flat major 7, A flat 7 sharp 11 to G minor 7. Now we know it's a sharp 11 because the D is in the melody, so we do know that note is in there. And in this case, the A flat 7 is the tritone substitution of the dominant of G minor. That means that's D7. So you can substitute a dominant that resolves. So in this case, it's like D7 would go to G minor, and you can make a substitution where you're using, instead of using the D7, you would use the dominant that shares the same 3rd and 7, and in this case, that's the one that's tritone away, that's the A flat 7. And normally when you do this, then the scale that you would use on the tritone substitution is a Lydian flat 7 scale. So that's E flat melodic minor in this case, because A flat 7 is the 4th degree in E flat melodic minor. The final cadence that I want to talk about is the A half diminished D7 at the end of the piece. So in this case, we have A half diminished D7 is actually kind of well defined within the key of E flat major, because it's just a cadence to the third degree. So it's just a normal cadence to a G minor 7. And you can also just play it as that. And if you play A half diminished D7 and then resolve that to notes that fit with G minor, then it's gonna fit really well with the E flat 6 or E flat major 7. So there's no real problem with that. You can hear this progression as being almost the same as going to G minor. But it's also just nice to understand what's really going on, and this progression is really a reharmonization of another type of subdominant chord that is also kind of common in jazz. Well, actually it's not kind of common, it's very common, because that's the sharp 4 diminished. And of course in the key of E flat major, the sharp 4 diminished would be an A diminished. And you will have different places where this can come along, so you would have something like this kind of progression. I think that's sort of the place where I tend to really hear, if you want to hear the sharp 4 in the bass, then that's where it sounds natural, where you already know it probably. Another place where you will hear it quite a lot is where it has the flat third in the bass. So the flat third in the key, so that means that it has the G flat in the bass. Because then you have progressions like, which you probably also have come across in other pieces as well. It's a fairly, that's probably the most common place to have it actually, to have it placed on the flat third, and then also not resolving to the 1 but resolving down to the 2 chord. That means that now we can sum up the whole analysis and then assign some scales to all the chords. So for the first chord, the tonic chord, is of course just E flat major. Then we get the D half diminished G7. That's a cadence to C minor 7, so you use C harmonic minor on that. Then the C minor 7 is just diatonic to E flat major, so that's the scale you would use on that. And then we get the cadence to A flat major 7, so the B flat minor, E flat 7, and you would play that as a cadence in A flat major, so you use that scale on it. The A flat major, and then the D flat 7, as I talked about, that's going to be a D flat 7 Lydian dominant or A flat melodic minor. Then we're back in the E flat and C minor, both diatonics to E flat, so you would be using E flat major on that scale on those 2 chords. And then the F7, so also you can see in the melody here that the F7 actually has the A in the melody, so it is really just sort of spelling out the B flat major scale. That's also the most logical choice for that. And then the 2/5 back is of course going to be the E flat major scale on the F minor 7 and the B flat 7. And in the second half of the piece, so first it's just a long repeat, and then we get the A half diminished D7, so that would be G harmonic minor, that would fit there. And then on the E flat, of course, is just a tonic chord, so we use that scale. Then the A flat 7 is a Lydian dominant because it's a tritone substitution. The G minor 7 is just the third degree in E flat major, so that's what you would use on that. And then the C7 is an auxiliary dominant, so you use F harmonic minor on that. And then the last 2/5 is all just E flat major 7. If you want to check out some more videos on how I think about music theory and also how I analyze songs, then I have this short playlist with a few videos where, among other things, I analyze Stella by Starlight. And of course, if you want to learn more about jazz guitar and it's the first time you see one of my videos, then subscribe to my channel. These are the kind of videos that I publish every week. And if you want to help me keep making videos, then check out my Patreon page. That's about it for this week. Thank you for watching, and until next week.